Peace to the saints. We are back another day. The revolution continues. Today we will analyze an interview with Pat Bet David and Andrew Tate. I've actually not previewed it at all. Excuse me. I've not previewed it at all. So you'll see this in real time with me. By the way, if you haven't checked me out on Rumble, do. I'm going to post some footage up on there within the next 24 hours. Just got a new suppressor, so I was trying that out. If you want to take a look, see, feel free. But let's go ahead and get to this work. As we go through, do utilize the information below. And for those of you who are against Google censoring and blocking you from the truth, feel free to use the information below to watch on Twitch. I'd appreciate it, and it will move us forward because we do know that I am only here for a limited time only. Those who speak the truth and organize, we are only here for a limited time only. So thank you to those who take the revolutionary action, like say this gentleman here, and they move onto a platform where we are not being censored. Let's go ahead and get to this work. Here we go. We have Andrew Tate on Pat Bet David. And I think that Tate is trying to get himself back into the spotlight. I mean, he's done a great job with marketing. I trust that the dollars are still coming in, though perhaps some of his aura, as the internet nerds say, has probably been lost, along with many of those beads of sweat that were flying off of his head when he was getting hit with those uppercuts. But shout out to Tate. The brother's a warrior. Carrying on.
Fantastic, folks. This was a last-minute announcement, but there was some extracurricular.
He has the alcohol in the background. McCallum, I believe it is. When I would, my VIP hosts in Vegas would always stock my suite with this particular drink. I've never drank alcohol, but I figure it must be some top shelf stuff. But again, I remind you all that, pay attention to what people sell you, what they advertise to you, because those are the things that will hurt you. The alcohol, the cigarettes, the cigars, all of these fake males, they try to, poke their chest out and smoke cigars, and all they are clones of the image they think is masculine. But none of them are authentic. None of them are real men. None of them are principled, and none of them care about you. How could they care about you when they don't care about themselves? You'll notice that I've always been consistent all the way through, and that's what I teach you is realness. Be yourself. You don't have to be an image of some other person. And thank you to the folks who appreciate that revolutionary music. The reggae album is going to be pushed out within the next 8 days, so keep an eye out. It'll be all soulful music, the sounds of revolution. It'll be mental nourishment, spiritual enrichment.
Activities going on in Miami. Some songs being played, some text messages, phones blowing up, and
I didn't hear what happened.
Yeah, so there was this group of guys that were hanging out playing this song in a city, Miami, where most of the clubs are owned by this community that the song was bashing. That, by Kanye West, and then everybody.
Glad to be back with the guys.
This looks like the cigar lounge from Madrid.
Yes, it does.
It's not. Let's pick.
Now, I want you guys to know that we are in a world where the devil wears a disguise, where people say they are Christians, yet they would put on the hoods of the Klan, where people are saying that they're the chosen people, but it would appear not chosen by God, maybe chosen by the devil. We are in complex times. I need you to understand you have 4 grown men there who are sitting in a den with alcohol and cigars around them. And these are supposed to be folks you look up to. They are not promoting health. They are not promoting wellness, be it mental or otherwise. They're not promoting authenticity and realness. You notice all of them through the ages, you see these people, these males who have low self-esteem, whether it's a Winston Churchill, it's a Suge Knight, they're all portraying the same image of fake strength. And this is something that you could even hear about from Sigmund Freud, talking about the phallic symbol, the cigar, a large brown phallic symbol, which is representing the penis. And then they put it in their mouths. Yes, trying to appear more of a boss. Think about that. Really think about it. And we know that while they do it, it hurts them. Just imagine These are reasonably intelligent men. Why do the low IQ thing of smoke a cigar? Isn't one cigar like smoking 70 cigarettes? Don't we know that cigarettes and cigars are hurtful to you? How could they teach you self-improvement while teaching you self-negation? Shout out to Charlie, came in supporting the work via Venmo. May I also acknowledge Dominic, comes in via Venmo as well, writes, Peace of the Saints tuition. Shout out to Amir, he writes, Peace of the Saints tuition, unrelated, but I'm looking forward to the drip trip. Oh, me as well. Also, actually got this fine piece, double-breasted, you dig, made on the drip trip. Can't wait to do more. Oh, and by the way, for all of you who would hope for the privilege of coming to next year's Saints holiday, it's going to be a red tie affair. A red tie affair, come in your best. You must have a proper necktie. It is going to be completely dressed up for the ladies. You know that you need to be in your dresses, no high heels. That's not within our culture. But yes, it will be a very, very upscale event. Everyone came suited and booted. This year, there were a couple folks who weren't, but they were at least wearing SAS and merch. But next year, it's a red tie affair. You heard of a black tie affair? Within this thing of ours, we have the red tie affair. Shout out to Trayvon. He writes, I've been busy using my platform to promote the training center. That's love. I appreciate that. That's a beautiful thing. He writes, it's frustrating how ignorant people are to not support something that'll benefit the future of everyone. These are the times we live in. It's funny how a white supremacist, be the male or female, there's a white supremacist female, and I don't even know if they're supremacists or just hateful toward others. And she had basically said some foul remarks to a black child, and then she got $1 million on GoFundMe. It lets us know some really interesting or meaningful things about a section of the white population. It also lets us, the fact that she's walking around and there's not a hair on her head being harmed, lets us know some meaningful things about the black population, still docile and weak. Shout out to Trayvon. He writes, I need to figure out how to take the money since they won't give it. Peace of the Saints. And indeed you will. Shout out to Mr. Gardner. He writes, I will catch the replay, Saint. I got to get to this workout. 30 minutes of sweat a day. Oh, absolutely. And I thank you for setting the standard and the example. Shout out to John. He writes, supporting the work straight away. I appreciate you because I always show up to deliver. We show up suited and booted, articulate, and well prepared, mentally clear, and well researched. Shout out to Jefferson. He writes, support. Thank you for the consistency. Yes, I am trying my best, and I appreciate that acknowledgement. Shout out to Das. Fake? No, probably not. Shout out to Pawan. He writes, Peace of the Saints tuition. May I also acknowledge via the Stripe link. Shout out to Constantine, very consistent. Shout out to Gary as well, coming through on the Stripe link. May I also acknowledge Rashid. And thank you to, I see one person is now following on Twitch, Young Will. We appreciate you. Shout out to those men who are willing to take the small adjustment to help us move a mile. As of yet, Twitch has not censored. And so far, we have a reasonable working relationship. Carrying on.
The city we're in right now. We're right now we're in Barcelona right now.
Nice.
Okay? Barcelona, Florida. Somewhere in Barcelona, Florida is where we are right now doing this podcast.
Big difference between Miami and Fort Lauderdale, Vinny, right?
100%.
Okay, so why don't we do this though? On a serious note. So let's play this clip, Rob, and then Tate will just start off with this clip, what the news is saying. And we'll come
it's on the
straight to-
news?
it's all over the place.
We made the fucking news?
You made the news. Channel 7 Miami. So, Rob, if you want to play this clip, go for it.
People laughing and celebrating Heil Hitler and Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, I want you guys to realize that there is money in controversy. There's money in virality. And unfortunately, some people become money obsessed. And in doing so, they'll say whatever it takes to get noticed because it's profitable. And as a result, you, the consumer, you, the viewer, you will suffer. But more importantly, you don't know what you can and cannot take seriously. And unfortunately, these persons who are grifters and they position themselves as your role models, maybe they started out a little more pure. In the case of those folks who were in that nightclub, I don't think any of them started out pure. I think they all started out as attention seekers with the hope to become rich and famous. I think that was their sincere goal, and they have achieved it. And congratulations to that, to them, in as much as that is the case. However, at this point, I find it to be very damaging to the youth, because if you emulate this kind of destructive behavior while not having the money behind you that an Andrew Tate has and some of the others have, and not having the resources, then you will certainly suffer greatly. And they're spreading some ideas that will hurt you. Even myself, these guys were just saying silly things to get some notoriety. I said some sincere things about that particular nation state that has been placed in the Middle East, and I've lost about $1.3 million as a result. And that's a serious thing. And who could calculate what the future earnings would be? But I did that out of sincerity, and also, it's along my course. But what I would never do is I would never recommend thoughtlessly speaking against very strong enemies to anyone. I want you guys to understand, and this is the kind of stuff I talk about in Boss University, is that choosing your friends is very important. Also, choosing your enemies is as important. You should have good enemies. You got to pick the right enemies. And some enemies are frankly too strong for you to overcome. Some of them will crush you and leave nothing left. And so, you need to be thoughtful about the things that you post and write on the internet, because you may back yourself into a situation that you can't get out of. And, that's something that you all need to be conscious of.
I cannot believe we're even seeing this and witnessing in Miami Beach.
A Miami Beach nightclub catching heat, accused of celebrating hate with a song about Hitler.
Absolute disgust.
Disgusted, horrified.
City leaders reacting to videos making the rounds on social media featuring the
Not the mayor wearing the little hat. That's curious. Oh boy. Yeah. That's interesting. Well, I can tell you that they certainly achieved what they were seeking to achieve. Eventually, I surmise that some of them, their errors will catch up with them. And I don't wish that upon anyone. I would hope that we could all have freedom of speech, but it turns out that freedom of speech is not a real thing, and it never has been. The right would claim that the left will stop freedom of speech, and the left would claim that the right would stop freedom of speech, and it turns out that they're both correct. Freedom of speech is not a real thing. And I just would like to remind all of you, and these are the kind of ideas I talk about in the Book of Dark Truths. For example, we have something called habeas corpus, and habeas corpus can be suspended in certain times, which only lets you know that habeas corpus is not a real thing. And in summary, for those of you who are not familiar with the term, the idea is that you as an individual or a subject or a citizen, you have certain rights. You're not just going to be imprisoned and not get a proper trial, or just be in there rotting away. But we've seen this happen in Guantanamo. We've seen this happen in various other situations in the United States. Even Abraham Lincoln, who they portray as a good guy, who's a bit dictatorial, and certainly didn't care about black folks. What you have heard so often is just frankly not true. You have been lied to more than you know. You've been lied to about the basis of Thanksgiving. You've been lied to about the founding of the United States. You've been lied to about the origins of the Civil War. You've been lied to about the nature of women. You've been lied to about the nature of your own parents. Some of you have been lied to about who your parents are. Some of you have been raised by a father that's not even your father, and you don't even know it.
Kanye West song with the lyrics Heil Hitler over and over again. The same men seen in the club, known as controversial influencers, are also in a video from a limo. In that one, they're singing, and one of them is performing a Nazi salute.
Have people in our city celebrating this. Animals.
This is obvious.
It's really a peculiar thing, and I don't say this in defense of these people, because they don't need my defense. I think they're pretty tooled up. However, in respect of the truth, and as I've stated before, I studied under one of the foremost scholars in fascism. Not to say that the Nazis represent paradigmatic fascism, which would be that of the Italians. The chief philosopher of such was Giovanni Gentile. I studied under Dr. A. James Greger, who's advisor to several presidents, some of which you all may be familiar with, Clinton and George Bush. And he's an expert, in fact, on neo-Nazi and white supremacist movements. And the fact of the matter is that the revisionist history that's being pushed forward by characters like Myron, who are not knowledgeable on the subject, they're essentially lying and portraying that a person who was an anti-Semite and a racist, just in the broadest sense, and also anti a number of other things, anti-homosexuals, anti people who had mental issues and very psychological infirmities. portraying him as a positive person as opposed to someone who organized mass murder and was responsible for the death of in excess of 25 million people. It's frankly very dangerous, but only could you find this kind of rhetoric coming from someone who so desperately wants to be accepted by white people. Keep an eye out. I'll be dealing with him in a separate stream on kick.com/Marquett Devon. Is it /Marquett or /Marquett Devon? Somebody will have to let me know. But it's really a sad thing to see them, celebrating someone who would have them hanged.
Not welcome in Miami Beach. It should not be welcome anywhere in the world.
And by the way, I spoke to other club operators. They are not welcome in their club. How they got into this club, open arms, I want to know how.
The videos are from Saturday night. This one inside the club Vendome at 743 Washington Avenue. The club releasing a statement on social media that reads in part, "We want to be unequivocally clear. Vendome and our hospitality group do not condone anti-Semitism."
Well, the funny thing is that Vendome has condoned it for some time because my first time maybe it was my second or third time dealing with Fresh and Fit in Miami, they took me to Vendome. So Vendome has been a partner of theirs, and only now do they speak out with the negative publicity. So there you go. Also, the Kick, if you want to subscribe, I highly recommend it because that'll be the only place that I'll be live streaming the roast of Fresh and Fit. Will be kick.com/Marquett Devon. There will not be anywhere else I'll be live streaming it. So if you want to watch it live when I do it, it'll be there.
Anti-Semitism, hate speech, or prejudice of any kind. It goes on to state, "We are deeply disturbed by the harm caused by this incident."
See, now that's an exaggeration. There was no harm. As they say, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words will never hurt you. If words were damaging, then I suppose the Palestinians would be on equal footing with their enemies, but they are not. Words are not hurtful. It turns out that, aircraft, long-range missiles, and things of the like are more effective.
And the circulation of this footage. The Post explains the business is looking into safeguards and procedures to make sure this doesn't.
What you mean safeguards? Tell your DJ to use common sense, but at the end of the day, they appreciated the business and the population that was brought in by these goofballs. And the sad reality is that public education is terrible in the United States. And what's worse than that, there is no character education. So you have parents who may be just extraordinarily low class. And then on top of low class parents, you have a lack of public education. You have no character education. And then you have the nefarious influence of social media influencers, which means people who are not well educated and lettered.
Happen again. As for the men in the video celebrating the song, the mayor has.
Can pause it at this time.
I barely even see me in any of this.
Yeah.
Firstly, but I want to be very careful here because I don't want to deflect too heavily. I don't want to be blaming other people, etc. A whole bunch of songs were played that night, none of which I requested. None. I walk into a nightclub and songs are played. Unfortunately, if anything happens anywhere near me, it gets tied to my name. If someone got shot in that club, they would have said, Andrew Tate's in a nightclub where this man got shot. I didn't shoot him.
Andrew Tate is speaking the truth. I think that there's no doubt that within that group, I don't think any one of them particularly stood out. And that's kind of the challenge with groups. If you're a part of a group, you kind of matter a lot less. When you stand as one, then of course you'll be better regarded. But the truth is, yes, whoever has the biggest name will be who the media attaches the unfortunate event to. And so he's factual there. However, his attempt to escape blame, I think we all know he's wise enough to not associate with these kind of characters who have all been anti-Semitic at various points. And also, he knows that they're a bit dangerous in that they do not think before they speak. And most importantly, they speak only for virality. They don't speak virality, which is to say profit. They're not speaking knowledge or philosophy. They're speaking to gain a following or to gain revenue. And lastly, and this is something I often talk to you guys about, is people, places, positions. What kind of people are you around? Is this the right place for you to be? Will this leave you in a good position? Is this the position you want to be in? Is this where you're looking to ascend? So people, places, positions. He was, really violating and being in a nightclub in general, probably. Wasn't around good people. He's around harlots, alcoholics, and degenerates. And this is the position we find him in. It's a low position to be in a nightclub.
I didn't pull the trigger. I don't know who the fuck he is. I was there and the song was played. The actual conversation I think that's interesting to have when it comes to this is the nature of the internet and the nature of influencing in general. Because I think we're living in a world now where only shock value seems to get any...
Now, he's speaking a truism, which is only shock value. So, of course, they're going to do things that are shocking. But increasingly, it's the least moral, the least scrupulous of us who are going to do that, right? There's some people who have limits. There's some things I'm just not going to do. I'm not going to promote to you drugs, alcohol, pharmaceuticals, cigarettes, cigars, vapes. I'll never promote that to you. I've been offered many times to promote those things. I'll never do it. And, if you want to understand me, the Black Box, you can get on Amazon, type in the Black Box Marquett Burton. You'll understand why I don't promote those things. I've seen people struggle. I've seen people suffer. I've seen alcohol and drugs steal youth from people. I've seen it steal dignity from women, have them selling themselves. I've seen it, steal intelligence from smart men. That's why I don't promote those things, because I know for sure that they're bad. I'm not guessing at it. I've seen the world spin enough times, and I care. Some people just don't care. That's why Andrew Tate holds a cigar, whether he's puffing it or not, just as a prop and also an advertisement to you. And frankly, I think that's just a terrible thing for the youth, because Andrew Tate, despite losing that boxing match, is still very influential. And I think that to see in all of these men could be great men, but to see them stoop so low when they're already wealthy, it hurts me and saddens me.
Anybody's attention for any significant period of time, because everyone's dopamine receptors are completely fried. So all of these young influencers or anyone on the internet who's trying to make any name for themselves is trying to be as controversial and shocking as possible, as quickly as possible. And that's why the song was played, because it gets views. That's why. I didn't play it. I didn't ask them to play it. I didn't dance. I didn't sing. In fact, the only time you see me on there is me storming.
I think we have to all agree that we're highly confident that one of those goofballs asked for that song to be played. Whether it was Myron or Sneeko, those would be my two chief suspicions. So one of them asked for that song to be played. I highly doubt that Vendome or any other nightclub would choose to play a song that is associated with that level of hate and controversy. There's just no payoff for the club unless a VIP guest requested to hear it. And then the DJ, being a DJ, not a scholar, would say, okay, I'll play it. It's not like he owns the club.
Out of the bus saying this is ridiculous and leaving. But I know why it was played. It was played because of this. It was played because it gets traction in a world where everybody...
And it worked. Success. That's a W. But I can assure you there's certain dollars that are not worth it, and there's certain W's that give you a Punic victory. And there's no doubt that that will turn out to be a Punic victory. You mark my words, I promise you that. Shout out to Enrique, who just became a member at peacetothesaints.com. That is the new website that we're transitioning everyone to. Has so many value adds for all of you. Shout out to Frank, just went and got dripped up. He got the beanie at manandwomanbrand.com. It's quite cold, so it's actually quite smart. And may I also acknowledge via Venmo, shout out to Mr. Chambliss. He writes, whites aren't Christian. Not only did they burn down successful black businesses, they also burned down Christian crosses that black families had on their lawns. They bombed many churches. All right, there you go. Shout out to Austin. He writes, question on IG DM. Okay, so sent it on IG DM. Let's see if we can find it. Here we are. He writes, need some game for a super player. From a super player. Dealing with two chicks. Good start. The one I favor wants me to cut off the other. I don't like that. Who's she trying to control? So she can be the only one. Yeah, that's often their instinct. But this is not the instinct of a woman who's going to go the whole mile. She's trying to run the program. That's not her job. He writes, the other chick has great qualities and would be a great player on the roster, but this one is obviously more valuable to me currently, serves me whenever and however I want. But do remember, and this is for all of you, if there's a woman trying to dictate to you, trying to run your program, this is only a preview of a real trait that is within her. She's trying to dominate you, and this is not a woman's position. So when you fold or yield in this kind of a situation, you're letting her know that, okay, you've been provided an inch, and surely she'll seek a mile, because human nature is not noble and female nature can be wicked. He writes, I consider dropping the other one, but I know that if unprompted, I wouldn't consider dropping her. Exactly, because that would be you thinking with your own mind. And if you have assets, no one throws away an asset, something that has value. That wouldn't make any sense. He writes, I wouldn't consider dropping her, so I also don't want Shorty to think she's running the program. Well, that's exactly what she's trying to do, and you know that. He writes, an ultimatum doesn't sit right with me. Oh, absolutely. There's only one person that should be giving ultimatums. That would be you. He writes, I know that a chick who's willing to leave you over another girl ain't ish. So I know she's temporary anyways, 100%. So right now, go ahead and milk her and feed her lies. You heard me? Yeah, feed her lies, milk her, and then kick her to the curb when she's not valuable anymore. You dig? She's a dirt bag. Marquett, what do you mean? Yeah, she's malicious. She's malicious. And that is the very worst trait that you can observe in a female, is malice. Malice means when they get angry with you, their instinct is not to forgive you or to try to figure things out or to overlook it. It's vengeance. It's to try to hurt you. They can never truly love you. They only love you in as much as you are useful and obedient to them. She's malicious. So in the long run, she's always going to hurt you. So do not run away from conflict. Conflict can draw you closer to someone, especially women, because they like drama. So I do not recommend that you fold to this female. And always remember, in negotiation, and if you go to school.com, I think it's conference 3, but if you go through, it'll show you that there's a piece on negotiation. There's a difference between argument, disagreement, and negotiation. But when you negotiate, you have to always negotiate from a position of strength. And as I said, human nature is not noble. Female nature can be wicked. And if they perceive that you are not strong, they will exercise strength over you. I absolutely promise you. I highly recommend that you do not fold on this one. You keep your P hand strong. Anyways, thank you for that question. Shout out to someone came in via Stripe, nameless, but thank you for supporting. I also acknowledge via Venmo. Shout out to Das. He writes, peace to the saints, Flex Luther. Just here to make my name known here in real life, ready for the next practicum. I've got my money's worth already. Peace of the saints. Oh, yes, that reminds me, we do have a practicum lesson coming up. It is going to be Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's listed on school.com/Marquett. Just click classrooms and you can get the course if you like. It's on how to create applications or apps, if you like, using AI with no coding, no experience needed. It's a practicum, meaning that we get on a live session, kind of like a Google Meet. We go through and build together. You ask questions, you engage your classmates. It's the best online experience you could have as opposed to like watching boring video. So I welcome all of you. And for those of you who are signed up, be ready, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this Friday. We have many more sessions to come. Carrying on. Shout out to Brian. He comes in via PayPal. He writes, clavicular is the new rising star in the red pill space, which is quite comical when you look at what he actually is. I was thinking about doing a piece on him, not because of, any particular disdain for the young man, but because it saddens me that he is spreading corruption among the youth. His instincts are chiefly female. I often remind you that it's the female instinct to beautify this, and they're so phony. They have the makeup and the surgeries and the augmentations and the breast implants and all of these things. And he is exactly the same. In fact, I would predict if you would look at him 10 years later, I promise you'll find he's going to have a botched surgery. He's going to have some medical issue as a result of all these surgeries. And you're going to find that body dysmorphia and all of these psychological things will manifest in very challenging, unfortunate realities for that young man. It's really unfortunate. And that's why for any fool who ever said, Marquett, you're red pill. I've never been red pill. From the very beginning, you always heard me say #no pill. Marquettism is for the kids. Marquettism saves lives. Anyways, he writes, he advocates men to undergo plastic surgery. Exactly. Take drugs. Exactly. Wear makeup in the name of looks maxing. Tate, Myron Sneeko, and Nick Fuentes all co-sign him. We need people like you. Exactly. He's literally quite the opposite of the ism. And this is precisely why we have to go to war with these people and ideas. Shout out to Mr. Ferreira. He writes, peace to the saints. It's Santos from Brazil. Your input on this interview is on point, as always. Please continue with the stream. Sir, yes, sir. Mouse acknowledged Darren. He writes, tuition, Captain Corduroy. What are your thoughts on the resurgence of the Black Panther Party attempting to combat ICE agents? Peace to the saints. I think that it's cool to see. I surmise that they lack ideology, which is somewhere that I really specialize. So I think it's a neat thing to see. But right now, I have a fear that it's all for show, and that the way that they're doing it today is the same way it was done half a century ago, which ended in them being murdered in their sleep for the most part. Mr. Ferreira comes back. He writes, Santos again. This suit would make James Bond envious. I'm trying to tell you, man, in real life. Shout out to Kyle. He writes, good to see you live again, Marquett. I was wondering when you planned on doing that live exposing FNF. Peace of Saints. I'm going to try to do it soon. You know, the funny thing is, I'm supposed to, fry up Anton Daniels as well and fry up FNF. And, I just increasingly, as I find that there's so many real things going on in the world, I don't really have the drive to talk bad about these people, however factual it may be. But at the very least, they can be a foil against which we can learn. We can see their unmanly actions and how it causes them to experience suffering and shortcomings. And we can learn from their lack of manliness. And so in as much as that's the case, I'll go through it. But it hasn't been a point of excitement. But yeah, it must happen. And in the case of Fresh and Fit, it's going to be a 5-part series. So make sure you check it out. Kick.com/Marquett Devon. You'll need to subscribe in advance because I'm just going to go live when I do it.
He's bored of everything all of the time. And that's why these young people are encouraged constantly to try and do the most shocking thing possible. You see this not just with this song, you see this on all their streams. They're running people over and doing retarded shit constantly. So I'm not here to make excuses for myself. I'm not here to say it wasn't me. I'm not here to blame someone else. But it is kind of ridiculous. It does feel a bit unfair that I'm standing in a nightclub, repeat the lyrics to me and all.
The average person that's watching it, it's December 23rd.
Yep.
And I'm in the Army, and my guy's calling me, telling me, hey, you got to figure something out. You're going to say, you hung out with these guys. Everyone extreme happened.
Book value really isn't worth it to me. I'm shocking to believe. That's something that has...
All right, come on, bro. You're not even being honest right now. Andrew Tate said shock value is not really worth it to me. It's like, aren't you the guy that keeps saying the N-word hard R? Like, I believe shock value, in fact, has been your bread and butter. And we no doubt can acknowledge that Andrew Tate is a marketing genius. We must give him his kudos for that. And this is the superiority of the bald head man.
Plagued the internet for a while, but it's getting worse and worse. Or shake people out of apathy. Shocking seconds. Otherwise, I haven't seen them in a long time, Nick. I spoke to them online, but it's the first time I ever met them. I hadn't seen Sneeko in a while.
You and Nick have never met each other?
Never met.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Never met.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the Braden guy, Clad, whatever his name is, he's new.
First time I ever met them.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, they were nice guys when I met them. It's the first time I've spoken to them. I sat down with them, and I don't think they even put the song on. I have to guess. I think Sneeko may have put the song on, who I'd met many times.
Now, that's funny. Now, first off, I was like, dang, bro, you just snitched out your boy Sneeko. I don't know how I feel about that. But I predicted that earlier, right? I said that was either Myron or Sneeko. They both have that slimy nature in them.
Times before. But it was a long night. It was 6 or 7 hours in which, for 2 minutes of it, someone got a phone and put a song on. It wasn't me. And now people are optimizing for with their content in the first place, because I have a theory about that also. And I think that the main reason anti-Semitism is on the rise across America, because there's no doubt about it that men are being screwed by the system. It doesn't mean it's true. Oh, young men that, and they believe that. There was no anti-Semitism when a man could afford a house. And there was no anti-Semitism when a man could get a wife. And there's no anti-Semitism.
He may be accurate in that it won't be as present and obvious because human beings, especially those who are lower class and middle class, they're more occupied with the basics of providing for themselves and, for their families. And so when all is well and they can keep themselves occupied with sporting events and video games, then they tend to complain less. When economics is a consideration, then they look for someone to blame other than themselves. And there is no doubt that largely they have found the right, one of the right problematic groups. but they never find the problem in the mirror, and there's no doubt that they should.
When he looked around and felt part of his community. But people are so disenfranchised now with the places they're living in and the society they're forced to live within, and they feel so disconnected from everything. They've become revolutionary. Young men of the world are revolutionary.
No, they're not revolutionary. They're depressed, they're displeased. There are a couple random ones that'll go out and do something heinous, but revolutionary would be yet a different thing. That's what we saw in France. It led to many bodies dropping. That's what we saw in Iran. It was largely organized under religion. Revolution, it needs ideology often, or it needs serious levels of deprivation. We observed this in the Russian situation, and I recall reading how Lenin stated that they should not hand out bread when people were starving because you do not wage revolution on an empty stomach. And the deprivation in the United States and the West has been nowhere near there. And the Americans largely still believe in the system, the white populace, they still believe in the system at a significant level. And they're not suffering. They're only suffering deprivation of their, previously more comfortable lifestyle. And so they're suffering not getting their wants, but their needs are met. And as long as their needs are met, they will not be revolutionary. And they're very hard to penetrate with ideology, unless it's Zionist ideology. So for now, the American system is fairly insulated. And the Chinese have made criticism of the American system, and they've stated that, your criticism of China is that we don't change leaders, but we do change the society. You've seen the progress. Conversely, in the American case, you may change leaders, but the system never changes. You guys are always going to war. It's constant. Doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican. You guys always have your wealthiest class growing in wealth. You have a new Gilded Age right now. And they're accurate in that criticism. And that is not a new criticism. In fact, Hitler famously called the United States, along with Britain and the West, he called them plutocratic societies. And that is correct. A society run by the wealthy.
They're looking for somebody to blame. They're told it's the Jews, so that's why they're being anti-Semitic. That's the truth about what is happening.
And it's funny though, Andrew, like, what's Nicholas Sneak? He's a grown man. I'm going to call him his real name. He's Filipino, Haitian, and his father is of.
And he's ugly too. Just side note, bro is butt ugly. I don't know, like, aren't your eyebrows supposed to like curve? Aren't your eyebrows supposed to curve? Like, how do nigga eyebrows just go straight across? He looks like a cartoon, but that's because he has Botox. Marquett, are you saying that he's using the same thing that the Orange County moms use? Yes, he has Botox. That's why his forehead is too relaxed, and it's taken the arch, the natural arch, out of the human eyebrow. That's why it's just straight across. Bro be trying to look at the camera all sexy. What a weirdo. These are the kind of guys. And the thing that I find unforgivable about Sneeko is that he had a sexual situation with another dude and his girlfriend. Well, she's not your girlfriend if she's having intercourse with another guy right in front of you. And in fact, they were in some physical formation where the Sneeko was laying down and the guy was on top taking his girl down doggy style. And the dude's sack was on Sneeko's face. And Sneeko had the nerve to tell the story. It's just like, these kind of people are sick. And I just don't know how anyone could hold them in high regard, except that this generation has grown up on adult content. And so their natural sense of right and wrong, they're just miscalibrated. And it's really quite sad. So me personally, I could never rock with someone like Sneeko. I wouldn't even want to be seen with such a pervert.
Jewish descent. So on top of that, it doesn't make any sense. He's the Jew. So you're going to go to a town that's predominantly a lot of Jewish-owned businesses. You're
Nigga, that would be every town.
Technically Jewish too. You're playing that song, and then when you
I don't know about technically Jewish, bro, is just a mutt.
You get in trouble for it, you're screaming anti-Semitism, and it's all the Jews run everything. You have to be. And even in the nightclub, you were kind of like, brings you in.
It was, so if I'm going to be optimistic, it was short-sighted by them. If I'm going to be pessimistic, it was certainly very,
Bro talking about them instead of we. My nigga talking about them. He over here doing his distancing campaign. Very interesting stuff. I would hope that my friends would be friends through all times and all challenges. But this is the kind of world we live in. Even myself, I've been guilty of being too loyal. That's, fresh and fit. I stuck by them for 6 years, while they did many underhanded things to myself and others. It's just a sense of honor and code and, kind of the values I was raised on, which I still stick to. And I talk about them in the black box. But, as I talk about in the Book of Dark Truth, once you find out that the friendship is no longer functional or useful. If you're not friends, then I prefer enemies. There's nothing in between for me.
I wouldn't say they set me up, but they should have known that, this is going to.
Not my boy playing victim. He said, I wouldn't say they set me up. Come on, Brody. That's different. Shout out to Das. He writes, I'm taking your advice and planning to stop using credit cards entirely by the end of the month. Yes, you don't have to close them down, but stop using them, because what you want is your credit utilization rate to be very low. You want your available credit to be very high. He writes, fortunate enough to be able to afford to give them up quickly. What is the main benefit someone gets from not using credit? Well, number one, you don't have to pay ridiculous amounts of interest. That's number one. Number two, you have a true picture of how much money you have to spend. You see, the problem is that when you have, say, let's just use a round figure, say you have $10,000 in your bank account, but you've spent $8,000 on your credit card, you still feel like you have money when in actual fact you don't have money, and you're tight for money because you only have $2,000 in reality because you haven't paid your credit card bill. So it gives you a false sense of your economic reach. And most importantly, just like interest can compound in your favor, it can compound against your favor. And that's mostly what people are suffering. So credit is a very dangerous thing that I advise against vehemently. Since you already have credit cards open, you'd be wise to just put the balance down to zero and stop using them, and it'll benefit you greatly. All of this stuff with credit and credit cards, this is all a game. Credit scores, it's all a sick, dirty game, I promise you. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and take a pause for the cause. If you guys want to keep it going, we'll keep it going. If not, I'll assume that you guys are good to go. You've reached your fill. We got a few thousand folks watching right now. And so if you folks want to keep it going, feel free to send in your support using this information right here at the bottom of the screen, and as well in the description of the video. We'll keep it going. Otherwise, I'll just assume you guys have gotten your fill, and it's been a pleasure in either case. Give you guys some time to decide. I advise everyone to think before they speak. This is something that I often teach. Obviously, the Master Communicator courses, the top-notch education on thinking before you speak, before you act. Some goofy African just made a dumb comment in my chat. I just banned him for it. Anyways, someone says, will there be a debate between you and Myron? No, because he's scared. I offered him to do such and he is scared. Also, when I do my roast of him, there's some other things that he was scared of that don't have anything to do with me that I'm privy to, that I will be sharing with you. I think you guys will find it be comical, but it'll let you know a little bit more of his character. Anyways, let's see if we're going to keep this going. Shout out to Anthony. He writes, peace of saints, will you ever be doing the stock pick videos again? No, I won't, because when I do my stock pick videos, I always make sure that I'm telling you guys what I'm thinking, and then I do the research so that you know I'm picking certain stocks, and you guys who have followed my stock, you made a lot of money, whether it was on shorts against Rumble or it was on investment in that one gambling company. I forget the name of it at the moment. We did nearly 400% profit, which is insanity. You guys have made a bunch of money, but I'm not doing them again because I love making money, but most people don't. They rather just be entertained. And for that reason, I don't want to waste my time to, preach to a choir of like 5 people. It's not a great use of time. And in light of so many businesses I've had to close due to Donald Trump's tariffs, I just need to focus on the things that are profitable rather than charitable. Anyways, and thank you for that question. Shout out to Brad supporting the work, came in via Venmo. I also acknowledge Mitchell, came in a strong way via PayPal. He writes, peace to the saints. And shout out to Mitchell. He set some big goals for this upcoming year. And that's one of the things I love about the new peacetothesaints.com website is when you log in, you get your membership, you log in at the top, you can write in your goal. And you can actually go and modify your goal, and it tracks the way you modified it. And you can reply to your goal, which is to say, log all of your activities each day that you do toward your goal. And I can assure you, if you stay consistent, you will achieve your goal, whatever it is. Shout out to Jason. He writes, what are your predictions for the pending U.S.-Europe trade war? I think Donald Trump is a complete fool in as much as he has not acknowledged that so many of his threats, whether it was a threat to China or a threat to the EU or even Canada, that people are not scared. And if they should be scared, meaning you have real power, then the only thing you can do at this point is give a demo. Venezuela was not a proper demo because the European or white ruling class, they've always abused the people in the southern hemisphere. So you're not going to effectively scare Canada, Greenland, Denmark, the EU with these kind of antics. If that were the case, they would have been scared with Afghanistan, with Libya, with Iraq. So what you need to do is to attack one of them. And frankly, with regards to Greenland, if it is so strategically important, and I understand during World War II, we did have a garrison there, then I would recommend that first. Now, me personally, I wouldn't have wanted to pay for Greenland because America's already in trillions of dollars of debt. So this is not the time to spend money. We already have a lot of military equipment, some of which is old. So I would have said, let's use this older military equipment. We're going to be buying more anyway. So let's get rid of it before it's useless. And so I would have, if I was feeling particularly generous, I would have said, hey, Denmark, would you like to sell Greenland? They would have said no. I would say, okay, fantastic. I would have immediately invaded. It would have been a blitzkrieg. They would have had no time to react. But instead, he babbled, and now they've put troops there, which means that at some level they have some amount of investment. And if you were to go ahead and storm the island, whether you killed or didn't kill their soldiers, then that would embolden the population and say, hey, you got to fight against these guys. So I think he would have been wiser to deal with the population of Greenland without those soldiers there. I want to say, if memory serves me correctly, Greenland has a population of like 50,000 or something like that. It's like very small. Let me see real quick. Population of Greenland. Yes, 56,000. So I was correct. So they have a very small population. So I would have stormed the island very quickly, took it because I wanted it. And then with regards to Canada, I would have done that early enough that Canada would have known, okay, this guy's a madman. Let's not play with him. But Canada has already struck up a deal with China. They're upset. They've reduced the tariffs from 100% on China's electric vehicles, which are phenomenal. And everyone knows that. This is no secret. They're being forced, kept out of the American market because Americans cannot compete. This would include our honorary American, the fake South African immigrant who needs to go back to South Africa. And when you bring these automobiles into the Canadian market and you give them more Western exposure in an adjacent market in a literal sense, then there's no doubt that Americans will want for these better price, better quality cars. And that's going to cause issues for domestic car makers. And in as much as that's the case, the Canadians are ceding ground and critical, things to the Chinese, we think right now is just going to be car imports. But what if the Chinese started manufacturing in Canada? You might think that that's just something that's innocuous, but it's not, in as much as this is heavy industry. And when you look at World War II, America had a lot of good heavy industry and manufacturing, and they converted consumer manufacturing into wartime manufacturing. And so you'd basically be bringing in a significant number of Chinese and Chinese know-how. They'd become very entrenched in Canada, whether you're talking about workers, management, and people who may be working for Chinese intelligence. And as a result, it would provide the Chinese a strategic, foothold, basically right next door to the United States. And so at this point, and now mind you, I'm not an imperialist, and I don't agree with much of anything that Trump says or does. But frankly, I think at this point, due to his existing blunders, he is forced to take over Canada. You might say, Marquette, that's quite extreme. No, it's not extreme if you are seeking to maintain hegemony. And that cannot be done while you have the Chinese dominating the market that is literally next door to you, especially if you purport to engage the Don Roe doctrine, which would suggest that you're dominating all of the areas nearby. And surely the area on your border is very important. So we have to know that if there were ever to be a military conflict between China and the United States, a hot war, in other words, that Canada would provide a very long, hard to manage border through which China could stage a ground invasion. And that would create the first opportunity ever that a foreign government would be that close to us in conflict. I mean, we didn't really stand it with the Cuban Missile Crisis. And then going back before that, you'd have to look at the Revolutionary War against the British. And so that is extremely dangerous. And for that reason, I'd take over Canada. I'd make them a vassal state. I would not include them with voting rights because they're far too liberal. And then I'd go from there. So I would have first invaded Greenland. This would have prevented the Canadians from behaving this way. But in the current situation, I'd say invade Canada first and then move over to Greenland. And the reason you're going to invade Canada first directly without warning is because if you were to strike Greenland, then you're going to engage the entire EU is going to collapse on you immediately. So I would much rather invade Canada directly. The EU may be slow to move if they move at all. And then I would engage Greenland. And then, I would say, hey, this is all I want, which is basically to pull the move that Hitler pulled after his first annexation. And then I'd carry on. You dig? Yes, indeed. But that's just me, though, in a theoretical situation if I were the Don. Anyways, carrying on.
To cause a whole bunch of flack for me, specifically.
In Miami.
In Miami, of course. But if I'm totally honest with you, I don't think that any of them are deeply anti-Semitic genuinely, and I don't think that any of them really thought it through. Honestly, I think they're just kids. I think they're just kids. It gets a reaction. They think they're funny.
They're just kids. Nick, though he has the body of a kid, is in his late 20s, surely not a kid. Myron is in his early 30s. He has gray hair, I think. Just kids, I don't think makes sense. Now, Sneeko looks like a refugee kid for sure. And the clavicular is, yes, a young lady. Indeed. He's indeed a young lady. I hope that guy doesn't go to jail. With his inclinations, I hope he doesn't go to jail. It's not going to go well. I promise you. It's not going to go well. He's going to hate it the first week. Then he's going to love it. He's going to be the most popular guy in jail in a bad way. Anyways, shout out to Rhett supporting the work, came in using the Stripe link. They also acknowledge Mr. Jackson. Just became a member at peacetothesaints.com. Shout out to Steamrolling. Been a little bit of time since I've seen you. He came in via CashApp using Marquett Devon. CashApp came in twice, actually, it looks like. Or maybe it was just sent to me twice. Shout out to Jason for the last question. He says, what stocks would you be looking to buy / short in anticipation? I've not thought much about that. Of course, I've always told you guys that I'm long on war, right? The United States has been a military industrial complex for a long time. So with regards to the invasion or the military affairs that are always going on, I'm long on war. And I've always seen good gains in Lockheed Martin and all of the other war-related stocks. And, after the war is over, then you want to consider the Caterpillar and the other companies that rebuild infrastructure. Shout out to Philander supporting the work. Came in via PayPal. Carrying on.
They're on the internet. They need a reaction. They want likes, and they did some fucking dumb shit. That's what I think it is. I think they're just literally retarded.
How old is Nicholas? If you don't, how old? I know.
I don't know. They're all young.
Braden
They're
guys
all in their young 20s or something.
I would love to agree
That's
with
a
you,
lie.
brother. But they're not all kids. By the way, nobody
That was an
online
actual lie.
or in the Jewish community defends you more online or behind the scenes than me.
I appreciate that, sir.
So-
I appreciate that.
You know, I had dinner with Tristan and
Of course.
Justin Wall the other day.
Yeah.
I got the call. It's Sunday. You ruined my day. At the
Word? He ruined your day? Please stop it. Knock it off.
very least, you ruined my Sunday.
Bro, I woke
with my
up.
nephew.
I woke up. I was like, what
I
the
feel
fuck?
you. And I get a call from not one person, not two, everybody.
Yep.
Your brother, you're texting me, Justin Waller, the club owners, the DJ, everyone, the mayor.
The bathroom attendant.
Like, the bathroom attendant, I tip him good. He called me.
Who's Cuban? But go ahead.
But they're not all kids. We know Myron's almost 40.
Yeah.
You're almost 40.
That part.
Tristan's
That
35.
part.
Yeah.
This ain't kid stuff. So what I think is I actually believe you. You think I'm going to wait for 5 years of working with you, friendship with you, to throw you under the bus last minute? That's not how we roll. But I think Sneeko played the song.
Yeah.
I think Tristan explicitly told me that Sneeko played the song. I think when you sort of diffuse the situation, they're kids being kids. Myron, who, you know how much time we've spent with Myron.
Yep.
That ain't no kid stuff.
Well, Myron's not a kid, and he's a really good friend of mine.
I agree.
And Myron's not a kid. You're right. I don't know if Sneeko played the song. Sneeko played the song. I'm telling you from my perspective, and I want to make it something.
But how do you feel about that? Because let me ask you a specific question.
Sure.
Do you know how much time I spent with your brother and Justin Waller at 9 o'clock on Sunday? I left at 3 in the morning.
You know, shout out to the small hats because they are so focused on being attack dogs of anything that would even nearly threaten them. You don't have to actually hurt one of them. You don't have to steal anything. You don't have to put your hands on them. But just to mention them brings all of their viciousness and their defensiveness. They're going to sick the Anti-Defamation League on you, and I really admire that. You know, conversely, if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, you might consider it, you know, see how a player lives. You dig, in real life, at Marquett Burton. I just recently posted a reel. There was some goofy black fellow. This is, I know, not a unique description among the blacks. And this guy was at a protest, and there's one Jason Lang, whom I do believe is Jewish or calls himself Jewish, or used to. Now he calls himself a white supremacist. And this dumb black fellow was trying to like shield him from the punches that were well deserved. And then he says, you know, I'm a Christian and Yeshua says that we need to be of love. And I just thought, oh, gee, I hope one day we can catch you and do God's work. It is with that very philosophy that you speak of, that stupidity that has kept the black people in bondage, first physically and now mentally. And those are our greatest enemies, not the Klan, but those who look like us, who are problematic characters. And I kid you not, every time someone says something this kind foolish, even defending them, I block them immediately because these people can only do evil. Stupidity is evil. And all of these bad ideologies, these are evil.
Serious conversations, laughs, of course.
Oh, yeah. And if you didn't put two and two together, what I was saying is that the small hats won't even let you speak about them. But the goofy blacks will let you lynch them, let you enslave them, let you, abuse their children, sell their children. And then they'll say, oh, we got to forgive. You notice the small hats never forgive. And I respect that greatly.
We're having Blue Label.
Yeah.
And Tristan, in my perspective, is like, dude, I'm done with these people. That's my perspective. I'll let him speak for himself. But he told me a story about your grandfather.
Yep.
Who served in World War II, yes?
Yes.
The American.
Yep.
What would your grandfather say about that? A neo-Nazi symbol. Who fought the Nazis?
Yeah, I understand. And we have to be very, very careful. I understand exactly what you're saying. I agree that is offensive to many.
Bro over here like, Andrew, you need to go kiss that wall. You need to put one of them little hats on your bald head. We're going to have to put some adhesive on it. Stick it on your bald head. You need to go kiss that wall. It's like, bro, nobody want to hear this preaching garbage, bro. Like, knock it off. And how are you so offended by words, but you're not offended by the loss of life that your favorite country has committed against the people who are indigenous to that land? May I acknowledge, shout out to Melvin supporting the work. I appreciate you came in using the Stripe link. Actually, I think I already acknowledged him. Okay. Shout out to Cam, but there's nothing wrong with acknowledging twice. Shout out to Cameron supporting the work as well using the Stripe link. May I also acknowledge Rashad, who just became a member at peacetothesaints.com. May I also acknowledge Ant. He writes, keep cooking as always. Became a member a couple days ago. Peace to the Saints, Ant CEO. That young brother is sharp right there. You know, and what I want to see from Ant is I want to see him become a greater Malcolm X because he has that same fire and sharpness. And where Malcolm X failed is that he didn't respect what he came from. He didn't respect the one who woke him up. He didn't respect the greater struggle. He got taken away by celebrity. But what we find in our day is that we're all improved versions of what has come before us. I spoke of Martin Luther King in a way that was a bit controversial, which doesn't mean I don't appreciate what Martin Luther King did. But I'm saying is that we're going to pick up where he left off, but we're going to be the new and improved version. And I see so many of these young men, and these, when I say young men, I mean younger than me, but not young in the absolute sense. But these young men, and they're so impressive, articulate, sharp, quick-witted, and they have fire, which is what is needed. And I just really hope that they all go to the moon and become legends and really set this world right, because it can only be set right by men. So I'm always proud to be associated with you guys. I just love to see you guys shining. And my hope for all of you men who are young and who are older is that you don't harbor jealousy, that when you see someone doing well, you praise them, you encourage them, you support them, and you push them forward. And that is the love that we should share to those who are like us. The goofy black guy on my reel, he was showing love to his enemy. This is stupid. This is foolish. That's why I have a 3 sentence Bible. Be yourself. Be good to yourself. Be good to good people. Good people, those who are like you. Don't be good to your enemy. Do your worst. It should be do your best to give your worst to your enemy. Be good to good people. Anyway, shout out to Mr. Canton. He writes, peace to the saints. I also acknowledge Mr. Hunter. He writes, thank you for your insight, King. I appreciate you, and you are welcome. And I thank you. Carrying on.
People, I totally understand it. And I'm not here to get myself.
It's offensive to Americans.
Well, yes.
Forget about just Jews.
This guy.
American lives died fighting Nazis.
That's true. That's true.
Your grand-Nazi
and friend doesn't. I'm really.
Where's PBD at? You gonna let this boy keep on with this? Like, man, you need to kiss the wall. Andrew, you gotta kiss the wall.
Not trying to do some big apology tour. I understand. We'll play. I have black friends, white friends. I have every single type of friend you can have. We have the most racist group chat in the world.
You see, and this is the stupidity of today's modern white man, is thinking that, you know, your life is composed of cigarettes, vaping, beer. Oh yeah, I pounded a beer. Yeah, I took 5 shots. You know, we have the most racist group chat. It's like, they're really like Beavis and Butthead nowadays. It makes you wonder how the whites were ever on top, because they've fallen so far. And I'd like to see them lifted back up. I'd like to see all of us lifted back up. We really need it. We need a better world. But to brag about having a racist group chat, what the hell kind of stupidity is this? And the most remarkable thing is you have people who have the nerve to say, you know, I'm high IQ and I follow Andrew Tate. It's like, is that high IQ? He said, I have the most racist group chat. When I think about our chat that we have at Peace to the Saints or our private Discord, I don't think about, you know, we have a racist group chat and that's something that's a badge of merit. I think these guys are forming bonds. They're doubling down on their fitness. These guys are posting their gains. They're going to ultra marathons together. They're posting up their merchandise that they're selling and their product for their Amazon stores. That's what we're on. This racism is just a silliness. It's a distraction. Let's get this money. Let's amass power. Let's grow big families. That's what it's really about. This is just silliness.
This is the world I live in, right? And I think that the reason the anti-Semitism issue is so sensitive is, one, because of the prevalence, especially online. And I'm not going to lie, I see it everywhere myself. I'm not even Jewish. It must be scary to see it absolutely everywhere online. the reason.
No, it's not scary because you've not seen one time where a Jewish person has been lynched in the United States. Jason, Venmo is preferred, but we have a number of options. Even if you go to Peace of the Saints, I think there's a button that says support at the top, and they give you like 5 options, including Bitcoin, PayPal, and much else.
For that, I've just given you my theory as to why. That's the first reason. Second thing, of course, was World War II, and a lot of people died in the name of defending Jews. Of course, I understand that completely. But then thirdly,
is that what they died for?
I'd like to have an actual open and honest conversation about this. Don't we think, and I actually want your opinions, the fact that a song came on and the reaction has been so fierce and so, not aggressive, but...
No, it has been aggressive, and that's why they are winning, because they do not let anything slide. And I would have the same thing for mine, which is to say that we will smash an ant with a sledgehammer. And it's one for all for one. If you try to violate any one of us, I want all of us to come crashing down on you. I don't care if you're some goofball out in the world. I don't care if you're a female trying to hit one of my guys with child support or alimony. We all want to come for you, and we want to put pressure on you until you fold. I want all of my guys to be known as untouchable, unfuckwittable. That's how it has to be. Yeah. So shout out to him, you dig? I'm trying to beat him at that.
So it's so clear that songs like this can't be played without meeting genuine power in the world. Don't you think, to somebody who is completely detached from this situation, somebody at home who has nothing to do with this situation, watches it and sits and goes, see, they are in charge of everything? I'm asking.
This is the perfect, by the way, I'm so grateful we're having this conversation because the world needs to see this.
Yeah.
If this was played in any other city, Tate, you would not see this reaction.
Got it.
Can I explain something?
Sure.
Miami Beach, they don't play this game, dog.
Bro, shut up. Shut up. It wasn't about it being Miami. It was about it being a hub. Is Miami a port city? Is it a major hub? Do they have has it been a hub for money and money laundering and crime and international movement of people? Do they have a major airport there? Is that where much of Latin America has entered the United States? It's an important place, and also they were important people. They're going to make the news if they're all together. If they'd have been in Los Angeles, you'd have the exact same reaction. Stop with the nonsense. And this guy is one of the dumbest of them. Their ethnicity is known for being clever and sharp. He's one of the most goofy of them. Shout out to Mr. Chambliss. He writes, if someone is virtuous and that man is better than me, then I will literally give more power to them. I will not side-eye them or sneer or get in their way. Exactly. That is because you are saintly in nature, and that is the right thing to do. Step aside and let the talented person go forward and then follow. There's nothing wrong with that. We all benefit when we're on the correct team, as long as we follow someone who is magnanimous and not greedy and dishonest. And that is my great hope, is that our organization will remain pure. We have so many good, honorable, honest people. Even my ladies, when we host people here, when you guys leave, you guys might stay here 5 days or 5 nights. And when you guys leave, the place is always clean. There's nothing broken. And even in observing us and how we conduct ourselves and have conversations, I said, wow, you guys are so civilized. And that's a great compliment to us. Shout out to Wayne. He writes, tuition, Peace of the Saints. Indeed, Peace of the Saints. Fresh Cuts writes, Peace of the Saints, timestamp 4720. Most of the beginning is Adam crying about anti-Semitism. That's crazy. That is crazy when you got to skip to 47 minutes, 20 seconds just for this ball to stop whining about something that literally had no impact on his actual life. Big sad. And shout out to all the people who are actually watching on Twitch, because that is a step in the correct direction. Yes, Google is a censorship corporation, and Twitch for now we're getting along with. And when that changes, we'll move even farther away.
Story of Miami. Last time I came here, I don't know if you remember, I caught a criminal case for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I thought this was America, but it turns out, communism was alive here in Florida just the same. Show me the man and I'll find the crime. And DeSantis and his little girlfriend, the AG, I have no idea if he's even still in power, decided to investigate me for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I expected a hero's welcome. And I have...
Now, here's a funny thing. A hero's welcome, but are you a hero? I'm not suggesting that you're a villain, but are you a hero? And that is my chief challenge with many of the people in the men's help space. Nothing wrong with making money. I'm a capitalist. I'm a businessman, and I promote that. I encourage you guys to go out and earn well. However, to be in the men's help space and to have started as a creator of adult content that damages men, their psyche, their spirit, their self-esteem, causes perversion, and to have specifically been in a vertical, which is to say a narrow business focus, wherein you order webcam girls to fleece these men and make tricks of them. I just find it strange that you've bamboozled so much of the planet Earth, the young men, into thinking that you were for them. This is really politician level finessing. And so does that deserve a hero's welcome? Well, probably not. And I don't say this to hate on Andrew Tate. I'm very entertained by him. He's a very clever guy, marketing genius. But that I disagree with, and I speak up on it. And he and I don't have any personal friendship, and so I owe no allegiance. I just speak on objectively the facts. It was like, why would you expect a hero's welcome when you've done the work of the villain? Perhaps some people may notice, and I'm not talking about the leftists or the feminists who are going to hate you just for being masculine. I'm talking about some of the males who fit the demographic of people that you were essentially fleecing.
Yet, to give the 1.5 hour story of what actually happened to me. Nobody actually understands what has happened to me yet.
That ball been holding that cigar for like 40 minutes. It's a real prop, isn't it? He not puffed it or anything. It's a prop. It's like, hey, look at me. I'm wearing the uniform of what you have been conditioned to think is cool. And when you watch television and movies and you see the cool Johnny Depp figure and he's smoking a cigarette, that's not by chance. That's product placement. And there's a corporation, there's Philip Morris paying to get you addicted to something that we all know causes cancer and birth defects. And that's how you know your government does not love you. That's how you know these actors don't love you. Hell, half of them don't even love themselves. So much of our entertainment industry is on drugs and committing sexually deviant acts. It's a shame that the people that we see on television are the ones that we come to admire, but they're the ones we should not admire. The worst thing about it is the situation, the situation will perpetuate itself because the people we see are the people who have pursued being in the spotlight. They cherish the limelight, and that's why they're there. The people that we probably should admire, they're somewhere in a library. They're somewhere tinkering and creating the things that actually help us. Maybe it's the medicines. Maybe it's the technology that we rely on a daily basis. So many unsung heroes because our society is fundamentally sick. Carrying on.
And it takes 1.5 hours for me to explain from start to finish. But let me make it very, very quick for everybody at home so they understand. I was deemed a national security threat by the British state. I was the most Googled man on the planet. And they said I had so much control over the young men inside of the UK.
Shout out to Tate for that accomplishment. And one thing I'm asking myself, is it possible to maintain that? Do you just get to the mountaintop and then fall down it? Or can you get there and then maintain being the most Googled man? How do you do that? Do you have to have constant controversy? Is that possible?
They said I was an unchecked source of influence, and there was an intelligence operation specifically designed to dampen my...
Now, here's the funny thing. When they say an unchecked source of influence, I mean, what was he really trying to influence anyone to do? That's the part that that beats me. Really, the only thing he was pushing that I could put a finger on that might bother the authorities is some form of masculinity, but no particular action that would be detrimental directly to the state or the society, except that you had liberals who want to control how you think, and this would be the white liberal female. But Andrew Tate is not a real threat because he has never been fundamentally political. He has no ideology. Where would I go to find his ideology? It doesn't exist. Not to say there are not things he believes in. There are not ideas. There are ideas, but there's no ideology. You might be saying that like, Marquett, do you have ideology? Well, yes, go to peaceofthesaints.com, scroll to the bottom. There's something that says Marquettism, ? Click that, and it will break down the fundamentals to you.
Influence. I have the paperwork. I have the chronology. I have all of the proof that I was set up by a sovereign state. The Brits hit me with all of this crap from start to finish. So when I finally escaped...
Yet here you are. So it was all just good marketing. Shout out to Jason supporting the work. Came in via Venmo. Appreciate you. So many tricks going on in front of our eyes. So hard to tell what's real and what's phony. Shout out to Mr. Ferreira. He writes, I'm currently a member on Marquettism. Would you recommend canceling my membership and starting a new one on peaceofthesaints.com? Waiting for the transition process. Yeah, you could do that. I don't know precisely when your billing cycle is. So if you'd like to switch over, if you send me an email, I'll reply to you with a link to start a trial membership. It'll basically be at no cost. And then when it expires, then you can switch over, however you like, whatever's easier for you.
Detention without a conviction after 4 years of being locked in jail and in my house and return home to America, the country my father served for, the country I was born in. I expected a hero's welcome.
Very interesting perspectives, especially when you juxtapose this to some things he said before, talking very badly about America. And, as an American citizen, you have every right. I think he grew up in the UK, though. And I remember him talking about, Romania is the way. You can break all the laws in Romania. Romania is this, Romania is that. Now, mind you, Romania is definitely a place where you can get some favors and some advantages. I've been to Romania many times. In fact, outside of Bucharest, I quite like Romania. Bucharest, I don't like very much. For me, I really like Cluj or Iași. And aside from that, I pretty much stay out of Romania. Good-looking women, natural hair. Once you get to the towns outside of Bucharest, cool place. I've been many times.
And what did I walk into? I walked into a crock of shit from DeSantis and his little fucking girlfriend, saying that I'm not welcome even though I'm a citizen, and that I'm a bad person even though I'm not convicted, and that I'm going to be investigated. And I actually am quite glad they investigated me, because let me tell you something. You're not going to meet another person on the street who's been investigated more than me. I've been through more investigations by more different agencies than anybody else you're probably ever going to meet. And here I am free talking to you. So they dampened and destroyed and completely ruined my first experience in Florida. Those clowns did, for no reason, to an American citizen who should have got a hero's welcome after being detained. Said, who gives a shit what they say?
Is that where Dracula's from?
One day, specifically to damage my influence over young men. And I leave, and I go to a country where I'm finally...
I wish they would say, hold on for a second, hang on. What was your goal with young men? I'd like someone to ask him that. I'd be curious as to what he'd say on the spot. Like, if you just asked him on the spot. Like, what is your goal with young men? Like the outcome for the group.
Treated with respect. I went to Dubai. Every single person in the UAE, at every single level of power, says the same thing to me. It is completely unfair what happened to you. And I told them, and we sat there and thought, you know what, fuck them.
Bro went on a 30-minute rant. Now, me personally, I hate being locked up, so I agree at that level. But he also, it seems like, kind of broke the law. Me personally, would I have locked him up? No, I wouldn't have.
Shit, made up charges. Man, I don't like this. I don't like that I finally get back to Miami. I make the brave choice to come here.
Dang, he keeps repeating himself. Like, good Lord. It's kind of boring, this part.
If you think you can build a case, go. You look at all the crap the AG said of Florida. You look at how he ran his mouth on the news, all the stupid tweets he made. How you telling me he didn't?
Dang, bro, still talking about the same thing. And I'm not saying I wouldn't be angry if I were him too. I mean, legal troubles are very annoying, especially if you have to be incarcerated for any amount of time. It's extraordinarily expensive. I totally get that. I just don't want to hear about it repetitively.
America's certainly not as bad as Europe. And I will actually argue that the Venezuela operation was fantastic for American soft power. I actually think that put America back on the map. I think that...
Incorrect, because no one thought that Venezuela was a formidable opponent. In fact, we all know that Venezuela has an economy that has been suffering, and this is not new. Like, I've been going to Panama, the country of Panama, for many years. And every time you're in Panama, you'll find a lot of Colombians and a lot of Venezuelans. And in that region, whether you're in Colombia or in Panama, or even in Guatemala, those are the places that I tend to go. I try to stay out of Guatemala. The women are too ugly. But they always talk about they have a huge influx of Venezuelans because of the poverty. And this is something that's been going on since before Hugo Chavez. And so to beat up on this small little irrelevant, aside from oil, impoverished country with inferior military, it is just it's not impressive. You don't gain any kudos or any points for that, especially when you, before that, have pretty much failed at everything else. See Iraq, see Afghanistan, see Syria, and the list goes on, unfortunately. So I think that's a pretty kooky perspective there. has Trump been successful at stealing, just like outright stealing? Yes. And what you guys don't realize, much of the world has a legitimate reason to hate the West, even the United Kingdom. And someone fact checked me. I do believe that they stole a tremendous amount of money from Venezuela. The Venezuelans were fool enough to trust the Europeans, and they had deposited some money in a bank, and then all of a sudden the money comes up missing. And this is not the first time that the British have stolen. They've stolen entire peoples and histories. Further, I could give you an example with Iran, that the British were supposed to sell Iran some weapons. I forget if I think it was tanks, maybe aircraft, one or the other, but I want to say it was like hundreds of millions of dollars that Iran paid the British, and then the British never delivered the arms, which is to say they stole. And this is why I find it very comical when the white supremacists are talking about like, oh, black people are always committing crime. I'm like, and we really do need to address criminality among all of the peoples. But certainly yours, the scale of it is just extraordinary. Like, you guys steal at an unbelievable level. You have whites who blatantly steal billions of dollars. They steal histories. I mean, they steal life en masse. But you don't find blacks or really any other group of people doing that until we can go apples for apples. And we want to talk about stealing money. Well, you guys stole hundreds of millions from Iran. You stole a tremendous amount of money from Venezuela, all without any legitimate reason other than wickedness, and your population condones it. So what it shows us is that there's an agreement on the lack of morality and ethics. So there's something in the nature, if we want to consider nature. Carrying on.
Venezuelan operation saved America for at least 5 more years. But in general,
stop it.
as the quality.
No one was impressed with that. And it did not save America for 5 years. In fact, Canada, right after that, did a deal with the Chinese. So what are we talking about? He's talking about taking Greenland. The Europeans are sending troops over there just so that they can get killed. And then that's going to cause the European population to say, yeah, fight these guys. Come on, man. This is complete nonsense. His political perspective is irrelevant. He needs to stick to talking about his woes from getting locked up, from trafficking females. This is nonsense. Shout out to Cameron supporting the work using the Stripe link. Appreciate it.
Of life in Western countries declines. And we can all argue that it probably is. I'll ask you, 2016 to 2025, the amount of money that has been printed by the American government, the amount the GDP, it's never no tax paid. Look at our society is already on the edge. Here's what life am I supposed to have?
And the reason I said earlier is I'd like to hear what is your outcome for young men, is because so many of these guys do not actually have a plan. Speaking of such, if you didn't check out my speech on Martin Luther King yesterday, I think you'll quite enjoy it, especially if you like a real message. But I talk about the plan. And even when we're considering white supremacists, they never talk about developing white people. They really only talk about hating non-whites. And we all need to be developed. We need better education, whether we're talking about like the arts and science or the letters and sciences. We also need character education. We need men especially to be skilled. We need women to understand the truth of gender and biology. And in the absence of those things, we find that our society takes a zombie-like march toward destruction. And that is because no one is doing anything. No one's talking about developing. You go attack Venezuela. Does attacking Venezuela, does creating death in Venezuela create life in America? No, it doesn't.
Walk around with 20 bodyguards and guns? It is a shame that America's become such a mess. Out with so absolutely.
Yeah, I'm waiting for this effeminate fellow to say, okay, well, Andrew, so those are the problems. You're very, very wealthy, as you've reminded us many times. You're extraordinarily famous. You are the most Googled man on earth. So potentially you're the most famous man. What are you doing? You're in the position of a leader. You have the money, you have the influence. What are you doing? How are you helping? And, best we're observing from you as of late is you're in the club yelling, Heil it! That's like, why are you here complaining? Complaint doesn't get the job done.
You're so good. And I've sat with you for hours.
Thanks.
I'm like, Tate, yes, no, yes.
Let's hear the bullshit. Let's hear the bullshit.
Has the world come
Is this boy complaining again?
against you? Has the world gone crazy? Have you been debanked, deplatformed, come against you? I don't believe you're guilty of anything.
Of course.
Other than being a loudmouth, biracial, somewhat racist.
Of course not.
You want to go live under Sharia law in Iran?
Now, it is true. America, one of the best things about it is if the government turns against you, as DeSantis and his girlfriend do, and that. But also, we have to sit now and have a discussion as rational adults.
See, his logic is not quite adding up because it seems as though he's about to sing the praises of American jurisprudence. However, we saw him go through a legal situation in Romania, get off. He went through several legal situations in the United Kingdom, got off. He went through a legal situation in the United States and got off. In every case, he's gotten off. And that was across 3 radically different societies. And so really, he should have no complaints. If anything, he should be deeply thankful and probably try to stay out of trouble, frankly.
From Telegram, in the
Dubai, like he loves it there. So
Dubai is cool. I remember the last time I was there, I kid you not, it was so unbearably hot. Now, mind you, I love hot weather. I used to live in Puerto Rico for several years. I ran a business out of Puerto Rico, and I love hot weather. Dubai was so hot the last time I was there, I don't think I'm ever coming back. And it's not always that hot, but it was just so hot, I just, nothing seemed right. I was waiting for an Uber to arrive, and there was a couple other folks nearby waiting, and it's just like you had to just stand like this, and you were just in full sweat. It was so uncomfortable. It has its merits, but it's not a walkable place, you see, during most of the year. So it's not designed to be walkable because it's so unbearably hot. And because of that, that kind of prohibits the ability to have community. And what's more, in Dubai, you have a lot of women who are from Kazakhstan, they're from Eastern Europe, a couple from Sub-Saharan Africa, and then women from the Philippines, and they're all working girls. Almost none of them have morals or decency, and they're all looking for a wealthy man. So it's not a place that you really want to build family if you're not an Emirati. The society has major holes in it, and the level of religiosity is certainly declining as you have more white women there because they respect nothing. The white woman respects nothing. Anyways, if you guys want to keep it going, we can do so. Shout out to Omari. He writes for your time, came in by Venmo. If you guys want to keep it going, I'm happy to keep it going. If you're like, hey, I've seen enough, I totally understand. You can use the information below or the information in the description of the video to support it. We'll keep it rocking and rolling and see if there's some more good game here to analyze. Yeah, I'm really suspicious of Andrew Tate talking about, Trump doing a good job. The Europeans are against him. The Canadians are against him. The French president is calling for more Chinese investment in Europe. It's like, come on, dude. America literally rebuilt Europe, and this is the thanks we get. Only a fool thinks that Trump is performing right now. And of course, I have to root for him because we're in the same boat. So I don't want to see him fail, but I'm not going to lie and say he's doing a good job. His tariff policies, I've closed down businesses. I've even got a bill from FedEx having to pay tariffs. So the lies that, the exporters are going to have to pay tariffs. I've paid tariffs on exports and imports. I don't know what the hell is going on. And that's only because of Trump. I've paid tariffs that I've never paid before. I've shut down businesses. He's doing an atrocious job. And I don't even know if he's privy to the fact that he's doing such a bad job. And older white folks who are not in business, they're not in the working world, they're relying on their 401ks and they're seeing the 401k perform and they think that he's doing a good job. Well, part of that might just be inflation. Part of it may be God knows what, but I don't think that him, pressuring Jerome Powell, who seems to be a very honest man with, potential prison time, is a good sign for America. The only good news is that it's going to scare the markets. The markets will dip, I'll buy, and then the markets will recover because we're greedy and we want to get back to business at all costs, even though Trump may be single-handedly undoing the remnants of a republic that still remained. What can you do? Shout out to Solomon. Comes in via PayPal. He writes, keep it going, big homie. Just joined. Peace of Saints. Well, we welcome you. Shout out to Wayne. He writes, if you will, please carry on, Saint. Also has the album drop. No, the Sounds of Revolution reggae album will be dropping within 8 days. It's going to be a slapper. I think it's going to be my best work yet. And I've really enjoyed the works we've put out. I put out a Latin dance album called Afro Latina. You can check the Saint in the Center on all places that stream music. I put out Saint's Holiday album, which is phenomenal, very uplifting, positive music for your family. Shout out to Heels In, supporting the work, came in via Venmo. May I also acknowledge Brad. He writes, I got a bill from FedEx as well. Homeland Security invoice, exactly, right? It's disgusting, like such a liar. It's like when Obama lied and said you could keep your health insurance, or that if you were young and you didn't need, all lies from these politicians. Shout out to Mr. Chambliss. He writes, is some of it due to having a 4% interest rate compared to 0%? Carrying on.
Go ahead, you got to fix that?
No, I'm good.
What you're saying is true, and the rest of the world should wake up. And that's in the most chaotic region of the world.
Yep.
There's a little country called Dubai, or called you.
Luckily for me, all of their views align with my views. So the things I'm not allowed to say are things I don't want to say. So luckily, I don't feel as American as I feel, as American as I want to be. I would love to live in Miami, guys. I'm just answering the question and explaining why I don't feel safe to do it and why. So I go to LA.
Mm-hmm. And I get it.
Mm-hmm. I damn near forgot this was PBD's podcast. I ain't seen or heard from that nigga in a minute. Like the whole first hour was like small hat talk and ranting and complaining.
The Syrian community, we're having a conversation about potentially putting in a Syrian leadership event together and hosted by us at the hangar here. And that's for gerrymandering that now it's going to be right? There's about, 3,000 billionaires in the world. Of the 3,000 billionaires in the world, 1,300 of them are in America.
Correct.
There's a reason for it. Now,
that could be a good thing, or that could be something that should make you think twice, only because America's infrastructure is so underdeveloped. So when people say that we have a rich country, and I've come to figure this out through my travels, when we say we have a rich country, what we're really talking about is we have rich people in the country. But the country itself is not a rich country. For example, Costa Rica has better roads than the United States. I know because I've been there. And I've lived in the wealthiest zip codes in the United States, the wealthiest. And also, if you want to look at airports, Doha has a much nicer airport. Singapore has a much nicer airport. And probably most places I could name have a much nicer airport if they're in a developed country as compared to LAX, Atlanta, JFK, which should be premier airports. And even if you want to enjoy like outdoor things like a park or a public square without consumerism, you can go anywhere in a low income country in Eastern Europe and find a much better experience without always having to buy something or having something sold to you. It's beautiful, public park maintained. There's plenty of room, good looking women who are fit and in shape. And we can see the mental illness of the Americans by the overweight bodies. And the overweight bodies come not only from low standards and, of course, gluttony, but mostly from boredom and having no family and lack of community to keep us in line. We're suffering loneliness. You know, people eat when they don't have anything to do. They don't have purpose. They're not driven. They don't have families. Or these women are without anything to do. And these are the things that we're not providing for. We really do need an idea system for this day to guide us in the right direction. Your religions have not fared well in helping you navigate the modern tech-enabled world where things do become quite complex. Carrying on.
Sergey Brin.
The reason for it, Patrick, and I hate to interrupt, is because here they can buy enough political clout to not go to jail. And I'm not a billionaire like that. It's because they're so entrenched with government that they're above the law. That's why they're here.
Yeah.
And in the UAE, they can't do that.
I don't know about that. I don't know about everybody.
Stop it.
I don't know about everybody.
Please stop it.
I don't know if that's the case with everybody. Like Sergey Brin, they ran Google. Okay. Bezos runs Amazon. Musk runs, a bunch of companies.
Yeah, they can't put these people in jail because they're the economy.
But also they are the...
Because they are the economy. That's crazy. Shout out to Bilal. Comes in via Venmo. He writes, I feel some anger knowing that my great-great-grandfather, Mahamadou Lamine Dramé, fought against French colonial forces in the late 1800s, was captured, and that his skull still resides in Paris in a museum today. Wow. It feels like his dignity was stripped twice through colonial violence and again through the treatment of his remains as an object. How am I supposed to reconcile this, and what should be done about it now? Well, I mean, you could choose to just let it go, or you could work on starting to build an army and a legacy to get it back. You see, when the Germans were defeated, there were those who took note of it. And then when the Germans were in a strong position under Adolf Hitler and they vanquished the French, there was a particular train car under which the Germans had basically signed their surrender in previous years. And Adolf had that same train car rolled out so that the French could sign their surrender now that the Germans were in the stronger position. And this led to what was called the Vichy government in France. And so you can avenge those things. Just perhaps the same way that George Bush Jr. tried to avenge an attempt on the life of George Bush Sr. So it's your choice. But I think the superior position is always to let go of the things that pose no real threat.
Economy, but they're also not criminals. They're running companies. They're
I'm
running
not a
business.
criminal, but I'm not the economy.
I didn't say you're saying that. What I'm saying to you is, if you're saying they're avoiding having to go to jail and all this, if you go out there and build a company, build a business, you just have to know Newsom doesn't like you. In California, so many great arguments for that.
What Pat Bet David right now is saying is pandering to the Republican and the conservative side. However, the truth is that Newsom and the Democrats, they're not against or anti-business. They may create policies that do not favor business at some level, but the entirety of the American government is controlled by business. That's why the United States has been called a plutocracy. And the most favorable tax situation is for those who run corporations and for the corporations themselves. And so this just frankly is not true, but I get it. So is Newsom against business? Certainly not. Does he perhaps make more pump fakes in terms of being against business or against industry and in favor of the little man? Yeah, sure. But we know that Newsom, like the others, is a dishonest, deceitful devil, if only as indicated by his infidelity.
Dallas, Texas. Yep. So many of them. There's plenty of arguments here. Miami, who's coming here, the wealth, a lot of the billionaires are moving down here. Market's going up. They have to protect themselves. They have to protect the assets. Yep. They have to vote accordingly. That's the things that you have here. At the same time, is there a case for UAE coming up? Are you kidding? Of course there is.
Yeah.
Is there a case for, Dubai, what they're doing? Of course there is. How many?
Now let's see if he talks about the dark side of UAE, which is them extracting mineral resources from Sudan, and of course as well supporting and driving warfare, death and destruction, the gold deal that they have with the Sudan, or shall I say the persons who purport to control Sudan, who are not indigenous to that land. Let's see if he talks about that aspect of UAE, and also the fact that they have to go in the Sudan as a colonial force because UAE lacks arable land and Sudan has a ton of it and a ton of livestock as well. So is he going to talk about that aspect? You see, so often we find that the Westerners, and in this case, some of the Arab states, are bloodsuckers in the African continent, neo-colonial. And so they have this surface and meaningless conversation, not realizing that when you may, Andrew Tate, have your periodic criticism of the small hats, you could assign the same nature and the same arguments to some of the Gulf states, namely the UAE. But that's not the only Arab state that is operating throughout the world, creating proxy conflicts that lead to much death. Why does Yemen seem to continue in warfare? Why are they so well funded? Where are the weapons coming from? What is the thing that factors in Saudi? What factors in UAE? You see, there's so much evil in the world. And frankly, sometimes you guys don't see me. It's just like the evil weighs on me. I can't even get together to come out to speak to you because it's just such a sad thing to see that greed rules in these people, despite them calling themselves Jews or Christians, or in this case, Muslims. It's like if the Prophet Muhammad, and the evidence would indicate that he did exist as a human being of flesh and blood, and his teachings seem to be quite pure. It's like, you can't be following that guy. You can only be following your own greed. Islam is a religion that prizes modesty, but if you look at the Muslims, there's nothing modest about the UAE, namely Dubai, the flashiness. It really is something that'll turn your stomach. And when you look at persons like one I cannot name, but his name almost rhymes with Obama, these people went against their own culture, their own people, their own religion, because there was no purity anymore, because these people were not praising God, they were praising materialism. What is Dubai known for other than materialism and opulence? Young man texted me today. He said, Marquett, what religion should I follow? I said, if I were to send you into a religion, I would send you into a burning building. I could never do something like that. Peace to the saints. Click Marquettism at the bottom. It's not a religion. Follow whatever religion you feel called to follow. I cannot recommend one to you, though. You dig?
Democracies have lasted the longest. They don't. They don't last that long of a time. Right. Monarchies do. You can go look back and see how many monarchies. I think the oldest monarchy, Japan, was 2,600, 2,556. Yeah. Our good friend Curtis Yarvin forced us to know this kind of stuff. We had a week ago or 2 weeks ago. There is risk to democracy. There's risk to democracy. Risk. So if I was to say for you, you also made a couple choices with your lifestyle. You chose to become, when you went to prison and you said the letter, when you guys were together with you and Tristan, which you guys played one of the greatest pranks ever in jail, which I till today.
Christmas movie?
That is by far
Rush Hour.
Greatest, one of the greatest things these guys did.
That's one of the hardest times.
When Christian guys will write me letters, but my God, I got a lot of letters from Muslims. Yeah. And then you chose to become a Muslim yourself. Okay? Yes. And you're still.
But still smoking on that cigar, right? Very interesting. Very, very interesting. You see, am I more Christian than the Christians? Am I more Muslim than the Muslims while still not practicing either of these religions? Shout out to Gregory, comes in via Venmo. He writes, always appreciate the unbiased game you deliver. Peace to the saints. I appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. Shout out to the good peoples of the earth. Andre comes in via Venmo. He writes, how should one truly study Boston University in order to absorb the knowledge and apply the teachings? Boston University is so practical that at the end of a lesson, you should ask yourself just one question. What is one thing I'm going to do? I might not implement everything I heard in this lesson. What's one thing I'm going to do that's going to improve my life? Just one step. And if you do that after every lesson, and most importantly, Boston University, it's a long course. It's so rich. You can review it. Yes, I encourage you guys to review it, come back to it. And there are certain lessons like the lesson, it's called Pyramids of Truth. That's one that I review regularly because it makes sure that you're militant and able to go out in this world and thrive, because especially if you're good natured, you forget that not everyone's your friend, not everyone's like you. And you really need to be on guard and know that you got to go get yours out in this world, because people are going to take it from you. They're going to try to take it from you. Listen, man, I got one guy that I'm suing right now who tried to steal a bunch of money from me, older white guy in real estate, Greg Larkin. So I'm going to sue him, make sure I can do everything to take him out. But the attorney that I have suing him is moving his feet slowly. And I told him from the beginning, like, hey, I need a pit bull. He's like, yeah, I'll get him. So as soon as I'm done with this, then I'm gonna have to go after the attorney, because I'm not gonna let anybody play with me. You heard me? Like everyone is going to know my wrath. Either we're gonna be on good terms and you're going to say, this is one of the kindest people, or you're going to feel my wrath. I'm not letting anything slide. I want it to be well known. So I'm giving out demos, you dig? Yeah, and that's one thing about Boss University is it helps you invest in prevention, because rather than have to sue someone, rather than have to catch somebody slipping, I'd rather invest in prevention so that it doesn't come to that, so that that doesn't start. You can also get all of the courses on school.com, skool.com/Marquett, click classroom, find one that's useful to you.
Practicing, would you still consider yourself? Yes.
Yes.
Have you thought about leaving and going back to Christianity?
No. And before we get into religion, because that's a long conversation, everything you just said about Newsom, I agree with. Everything you said about New York, I agree with. Also, the leader of Florida did the same.
How wild is that? You have the Muslim guy right here smoking the cigar. Now watch this. The Muslim guy smoking the cigar. And let's see. And then you got the devout Christian guy is also smoking the cigar. So I ask you, what is the difference? Muslim guy, Christian guy, they're both friends. They're alike. They think the same things, share the same idea set. They're both poisoning themselves in front of the youth, giving a bad example. What's the difference? There is no difference. Neither of them really believe. And so often these idea systems, especially for the powerful, they use this to influence and to control and to make you think that they're good people and they're moral. So you follow them. And then they can milk you and use you. It's kind of like when you see those mega church pastors and he say, God is, we need to raise $10 million and God is going to make one of you a millionaire. Whoever gives today, God is going to make you a millionaire. And they dress up their greed in a holy robe and they extract from you. And the sad thing is that the parishioners, the people in the stands and the audience, they actually believe. They believe in God. They believe in the last day. They believe in the straight path. But the irony is that the shepherd, their teacher, they don't believe at all. They don't believe at all. They know it's all fake. And they use it to control and influence the people. And you know that these people are fraudulent because when you ask them for help, they say, I'll pray for you. But when they ask you for help, they ask you for money. Well, why don't you just pray? If you need $10 million for the building fund, or you need $10 million to open a church in Swaziland, why don't we just pray on it? When you, the church and pastor, need help, you ask for money. When I need help, you pray. You just pray for me. Why can't I just pray for you? It's because it's fake. Young lady recently asked me, and I find this young lady so perplexing because she's very intelligent. She said, Marquett, would you come to church with me? And I said, no. And the reason I said no is because she's a good-looking young lady in the prime of her life, in her early 20s, and she's not making her weight goal. And I said, you go to church in person. You don't go to a tele-church, you go in person. So that means that they're there every day seeing you in your youth, the time where you have the best opportunity to be beautiful, to be attractive, to be healthy. And no one's told you about yourself to lift you up. No one's mentioned the verses about gluttony. No one's been concerned about the mental health that causes you to gorge and overeat, hurting yourself. And they let you do that. What could your church do for me? Other than me walking into your church and them extracting from me, how could they lift me up? They won't even hold your hand and walk with you to the gym and exercise with you. They won't hold your hand and walk with you to a park and do burpees with you. What could they do for me? I'm happy, I'm well off, I'm in good health, and I have great plans for the future. What could your church do for me while they let you suffer? They can only do this. And I highly doubt I'm going to go in there and hear your pastor articulate better than I can. It's like Jordan going to your rec league. I'm not going to go in your rec league, sitting there and watch people play inferior basketball like I'm entertained. So I had to say, no, I could not do that. In fact, I don't even think you should go to your church. You're inviting me, but I don't even think you should go to your church. Because where's the transformation? There's no value add. A church, you cannot be a member of a church over time and they allow you to be gluttonous. You have churches where they have homosexuals in the choir. This is unrepentant sin. It's not a church. It's a club. It's not a church. That's not a church. Come on. Let's be serious. It's not a church.
If I go to New York, Mamdani would love to parade me all over the news, 100%. New York Southern District, and say I'm even traffic. Of course he would. But guys, the leader of Florida did the same crap to me. I flew to Florida for a reason. I got out of Romanian detention, looked at the map of America, and thought.
So I think the challenge, and I don't know if Tate is aware, maybe after he listens to this, he'll be aware, but he's kind of running on repeat right now. So maybe he's running out of ideas. He's running out of ways to be relevant, but he's kind of keeps talking about the past. And this is often an indicator that the future is not as bright. It's kind of like Al Bundy when he's talking about when he used to play football in high school. You know, we really have to have a bright plan for the future. And so I hope that he's not reached his peak, but this conversation doesn't seem very engaging and aspirational. Let me take a look at what the comments are saying. I'm just curious as to what the average brainless person is thinking of this. Let's see what the top comments are. Let me enlarge this so that you can all see and read along with me. Okay, top comment. It says, Adam can never shut up. Well, I agree with you there, but we all know that this means Pat is a Zionist because there's no reason to have Adam on the show. He's not articulate. He's not intelligent. He's not well respected, well educated, or good looking, but he is Jewish. So that's the top comment, which means that popular sentiment is against Adam being on the show, yet he's still on the show. So it's not a straightforward business reason he's on the show. It's not a value add. This other person writes, 1 hour discussing a song being played at a nightclub. Really? Well, that goes back to Adam. The next piece is 47 minutes about a nightclub video. Next one says, Adam is the APAC guy. Okay. So yeah. And you know, that's rough when you talk for 3 hours and no one's really saying anything meaningful about the conversation. That would suggest that there hasn't been much value add. And that's kind of my commentary, is that the value add is going missing here. And perhaps this marks the decline of Tate. Doesn't mean he's not still a funny guy. Every now and then I see a clip of Tate. He's pretty comical. I think increasingly his alignment with Trump and Trump's political aims is very questionable because Trump seems deranged in a bad way. Not deranged in a mad dog way that Henry Kissinger would say position of Nixon, but in a way that's ineffective and foolish.
Florida's based, and they proved that they're not. DeSantis proved he's a punk, and they failed and have on the news and started talking shit. Call in how I could live here until these clowns apologize to me.
But you're right
on this, and I'll explain why. I'm not with you 100% though.
I love America, just for my peace of mind. And perhaps I get so animated because
I wish someone would ask these guys a logical question. I know it's not really cool, but I'd be curious to just, like pause the interview just out of nowhere. Like, hold on 1 second. Hey, you have this big brown thing in your mouth. Like, what value add do you get from that? Like, I know it's probably hurting your, destroying your lungs and your health, and because of carcinogens and like poisons and stuff. But what value add do you get from that? Just like real quick, if you'd be just kind enough to share.
Completely right. And I think I said myself earlier, the fact that a governor said my name and I'm not in jail would never happen in many other countries. I completely understand, though, animating. Make a plan way more. I'm just saying, perhaps America. I love one of these Russian. I love a mission to break. That's not, Issue. Do that.
I got to ask you way is you exposed the system. You did exactly what Trump did, and they did to him.
That's crazy. You did what Trump did. Have we not noticed yet that Trump is the system? When he was supposedly coming from the outside. Now, I never believed this narrative because I always knew he was a major funder of the Democrats and the Republicans. And he used to get major tax breaks on his real estate developments in New York. So, of course, he has to be a part of the system. And there's no way you grow up wealthy in the financial hub of the world, which is New York City. Yes, he grew up wealthy and well-connected. There's no way he was not a part of the swamp. So I never believe that narrative is quite foolish. But to suggest that these persons are coming from the outside, it's like, no. They're in fact on the inside. If Tate's father was a CIA connected person, as Tate has stated, there's nothing more insight than the CIA. Don't they have an endless budget that never gets audited? And to even become a part of clandestine services, not only do you have to be squeaky clean, but the people around you, like your mother and father, your associates, have to be fairly squeaky clean. So the idea that your father can be a part of clandestine services and you're not on the inside is weird. You know, we even analyzing his backstory doesn't add up. I just don't believe that you're fundamentally broke where your father's a chess champion and he's also in CIA. Like, it doesn't quite add up. Like, for example, my father was in prison. So if I said I was broke and my father's in prison, my mother's on crack cocaine, like you'd have to say, okay, that adds up really well, Marquett, and we can validate it because in your book, like all the things that are mentioned, we can Google them and find court cases. So like, you are the truth. You come from literally nothing. But Andrew Tate's story doesn't add up to people with common sense. And so when you have folks like this buying into the nonsense that Trump came from the outside, Andrew Tate's not connected, it's like, come on, man. Like, let's stop it. Like, this stuff doesn't even seem reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Well, they did to you what they did to him, but they actually tried to shoot him in the head and take his head out. So of course, when I say it comes with the territory, what you did, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are appreciative of you saying, hey, guys, you pulled over the curtain, you call it the Matrix, and you said, this is who's in charge, this is what's the actual deal. Yeah. Trump did it in his own way about the system here. So
Trump exposed the system, and then the system let him in and let him rule? Okay, fascinating.
I understand where you're there. And I don't think that, I don't think you were.
When I was on that jet to land in Trump's America, I'm not landing in a Democrat America. I'm landing in Trump's America after 4 years of unfair imprisonment in a corrupt country. I expected a hero's welcome, and I didn't get it. Yeah. And all I'm now...
Boy, the arrogance, man. And we all have our moments. You know, shout out to Tate. I can't even hate the brother for being arrogant, but I don't know if you've quite earned that. You know, like, what is your group called? Who are the people you're serving? You know, it's easy for us to become high on ourselves. We've all been guilty of it. You know, if you've done anything in the world, and Tate has certainly done something in the world. But our chief thing to remember as leaders is always that we have to be servants. You know, we have to serve. That's what it's really about. That's why our government is so dysfunctional, is because they don't want to be servants. They want to be rulers. And it is very important for us all to try our best to remember that. Yeah, I know Russ had a hero's welcome. It's like, well, what did you do the work of the hero? And so often we don't want to do the work of the hero. We want to do the work of the preacher, which is actually not work. Patrick, yes, that is a photo of Greg Larkin, who we need to take care of because bro is a thief and a liar and a scammer, in fact. And we will not let this guy slide. Carrying on. And peace to the saints. Shout out to those who do God's work.
Asking for, at least admit that there's nothing to find on me. Then I'll live here. Yeah. Just say, we investigated him. He ain't done anything here. Don't say I've never done anything anywhere else. Don't say I'm the most innocent man in the world. Don't say I'm an angel. Just say there's nothing in Florida. Case closed. Just do that. Do that and I'll live here. But if you're not even going to give me that, if you're going to be so arrogant and you're not even going to give me that.
Years ago, 6 years ago, I don't know what it was.
Wow.
Do you know that? Like, you had like 40,000 followers.
Don't remember.
And it was, that's the, it could have been 8 years ago, it could have been 7 years ago.
Crazy.
But I remember watching, I'm like, who is this guy? What a freaking well-spoken guy. And I think that's what a lot of people would say, like, who is this guy? This guy speaks so well. Yeah. Let me hear him out. Oh, good point.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Andrew Tate has some skills and talent. That is undeniable. Shout out to Andre, comes in via Venmo. He writes, what fabric is that suit? Peace of saints. This is a fine corduroy. And remember, when you're dealing with corduroy, you must really have a master tailor because it's a thick material. And in as much as it's very thick, it's hard to cut and shape properly. As you can see here, This was cut by one of the top tailors on the planet Earth. This is really a masterpiece. And obviously, that's why I take people on my drip trip. We get custom suits made, custom everything, custom shoes, custom shirts. And this was by my favorite duo. It's a wife and a husband. So the wife does the measurements and the husband makes the suit. And so it's because they have such a strong understanding of each other and what everything means that you can get this kind of precision and beauty in the garment. And these are thick corduroy. So like you can get thin wire corduroy. This is thick wire corduroy, and they cut it perfectly like a glove. That's why there's a young lady in the comments. She said, you have a perfect posture. I do, but also it helps because the suit is cut beautifully. And also you'll see I have an extra wide lapel, which volumizes a man's body in the correct place. You know, high level playerism, you dig. Thank you for asking. Oh yeah, and it's not too late if you want to get a ticket to the drip trip. I can't even tell you guys where on my website to get them, but I think if you type in Drip Trip 2026, you can find the place to purchase your ticket. And we are going to be early next month. We'll be there and getting our suits cut up by my guys.
So what were the good points? Okay, why would a man get married? It's a waste of time and da-da-da-da-da, man, female, all that. Okay.
Yeah.
Then it was COVID, the government said, then it's Matrix, then it became Israel, okay? And remember, every argument goes like this, the cycle, right? Yeah. Where would you say we are right now in this cycle of Israel? The topic of Israel, it's always the Jews. Jews are in charge. They're doing this. Do you think we're here for this new cycle, or do you think we're here? Do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, I understand what you're asking. I think the Gaza situation was putting a huge spotlight on Israel. That seems to have died down now. The flotilla's gone and the bombing has stopped. That's a big part of it. But I do believe there is a huge percentage of the young male population which are so disenfranchised with the system that they're looking for somebody to blame. If you want to get someone on here to discuss whether the Israelis or the Jews are actually to say things, anybody can save up to buy a house.
Now, the interesting thing is you'll hear with Andrew is he's basically saying that the Israelis are not a problem, that the Jewish community is not a problem. And he's, in fact, not quite identifying what is the cause of this predicament that young men and women at a level find themselves in. I think feminism is one aspect. Male weakness is another aspect. We have allowed ourselves to be in this situation. The fall of the white man, the rise and domination of the liberal white woman, which is a devil on earth. But I find it very curious that he seems to be an apologist for the Israeli government. That seems to be a bit of a change, especially after you're just recently hanging out with a crew of people who were being quite vulgar. Shout out to Mr. Ferreira. He writes, Marquett, what do you attribute to the difference between Trump's first term and his second term? Well, one is just experience. You come in the first term, you're getting your feet wet, you're putting your team together, you're figuring out what has to happen. In between terms, he was basically being criminally prosecuted, and he realized like, oh, this is a vicious game. Some of these people who have been my friends, I have funded their campaigns. These people are willing to take my head off. And so he became a lot more ruthless, and realizing that now he didn't have continuity between terms. He knew that he had to go faster, go harder. And also he probably wanted that chance to have impact and legacy. And in as much as that's the case, I can't trust him to get out of office when his term is up, honestly. I think he's a different man, and we can observe that. And I think he actually did a great job financially in the first term. And the second term, I think he's done an atrocious job. America has taken a backslide in every way possible. And he's also proven himself to be the most extraordinary liar. He'll say something that he'll give us half-truths. He say something like, the stock market has reached all-time highs 25 times this year. And then you'd be like, well, in 2024, it reached all-time highs 43 separate times. And so it's like, you're giving us half of the truth. And for that, I don't think reasonable and educated, intelligent people can trust him at any level. The only people who can rely on him are his immediate family and the cadre of billionaires that he essentially works for. And of course, that one country. Shout out to Andre. He writes, thank you for the game. See you at the drip trip. Sir, I will see you there. Carrying on.
House, because you can no longer compound your work in dollars. You can't go to work, do an hour's work, put it in the bank, do another hour's work, put it in the bank, and save up to buy a house, because you're being outpaced by inflation, money printing, all these wars, all this Somali fraud, taxes.
Somali fraud, really? So you tiptoe and you don't want to talk about Zionist, but you say Somali fraud is impacting the pocketbooks of everyday Americans. You lose me. You really lose me. And that is him trying to plug into the narrative of the white supremacists who want to blame everything for their civilization being in decline. Imagine blaming immigrants for the fact that your woman is unruly and doesn't want to have kids. That has nothing to do with immigrants. So Andrew Tate, very disingenuous here. And this really just sours my attitude toward him.
You're being outpaced. You can't even see.
And mind you, I don't even like Somali women like that. Big forehead, super low IQ. Some of them are cute, but generally I've not yet met one that had two brain cells to rub together. Now it's crazy because the guys are legit, good looking guys, well dressed, engineers, but the women so goofy, bizarre.
Save money anymore. So when young men are waking up in a world where their only chance to possibly get rich is effectively gamble on crypto, literally gamble, they're sitting here going, well, this system's broken. Who's behind this system?
Think about the stupidity of that explanation. To suggest that the only way you can get rich is to gamble. No one gets rich gambling. No one. No one in the history of ever. So, one, don't associate a possible win with something that is a known vice, especially in your religion, Islam. Gambling is a great sin. So don't advise them or put it in their mind to do haram things. That's not quite right. And more importantly, don't suggest that because the world is challenging that you should resort to doing stupid financial mistakes. I mean, that seems like very excuse-based. And I think what we notice is that the red pill and the manosphere, they are very effeminate males doing precisely what they accuse women of. They're delusional. They have no self-awareness about their own deficiencies. And then they complain and make excuses like women. It's very unfortunate. A very unproductive group. And they never talk about the basics of human happiness, of relationships, like between other men, friendships, and family. And this should teach you a lot about why their perspective is broken and dysfunctional. And the guys at the top, this cadre of, the Sneeko, the Myron, the Nerd Fuentes, and Cav, whatever the hell the Barbie doll guy is, they just scrape the money up from these goofballs, and the goofballs get nothing back for it. They just get some form of therapist and someone to commiserate with.
Why am I living in such a broken system? And there is a theory, and there's many theories as to who's in charge of the world or who built this system or why the system's so broken.
Are there many theories?
There is a system.
No. There hasn't been many theories. People have said it's one group of people, and they've said it consistently, and all of a sudden, you don't want to talk about that. Is it because you're next to your buddy Adam, who's a part of it?
Change anything as long as you have a huge percentage of young men who stand no hope in life. Because when you've always, in any point in human history, when you find a large subset of the young masculine population that have no hope, it's going to be a revolution. They're looking for somebody to blame, and they're going to do something. They're going to become radicalized. That happens absolutely everywhere. So if you'd ask me, where are we in the Israel conversation? I don't think it matters what Israel does, or Bibi, what he says, or what Trump says. I don't think any of that matters. When you have all these men out here who have no hope of building a good life, they're going to find somebody to blame for it, whether it's...
All of these men, is that true in Israel? Do those men have no hope of building a good life? Seems like they're doing really well. They're getting their education and healthcare paid for, courtesy of American tax dollars. They're fighting an inferior foe, so there's not significant risk of losing life and limb. And they get free land and real estate when they take it over from the Palestinians. So I would say that they have a really good deal there. So who are you talking about precisely? Yes, seems like he's lost his ability to be objective and real. Maybe that's how he got out of all that trouble. Became a good boy. Good boy.
Immigrants, that's what it is in European countries.
What would you do? You're 22. And you're 22 today.
Yeah.
Not 30.
Well, I'd go on a reality show like I did. I'd go on a reality show, and then I ran webcam girls. I have a PhD, pimping degree.
You're 22 today, and you're seeing what the market's going, and your brain's going, a million miles an hour. You're consuming all this information. How would you position yourself when you're watching, some of the influence, it's always the Jews, it's Israel, it's this, it's that. How would you process it to differentiate yourself?
Okay, so the first thing is, I think it's very easy to confuse finding someone to blame or finding out what's happening with fixing the problem. And I think there is, I'm not going to lie, there's definitely a large percentage of people on the internet who are looking for someone to blame as opposed to taking personal responsibility to fix the problem. There's no Jew that's stopping you from going to the gym and being in good shape. No Jew is stopping you walking into a gym. So, like, you have personal responsibility and personal accountability. And in many situations,
I wish Pat would interrupt him real quick. Like, what are they stopping you from? Like, what are they doing that's wrong? Like, how did they become the scapegoats? What are they doing?
Even if they're unfair, even if the game is rigged, the best thing you can do is say, well, these are the rules I'm playing within, and I have to try and win and take apps too. That is a very different to this heavily financialized, this stock market bubble version of capitalism, which is different than the consumer capitalism we used to live under. In the 90s, you got rich by opening a mom and pop shop. Or
in the 90s, really, bro? Like, when was the .com bubble? Let me look that up. Because he said in the 90s you got rich by opening a mom and pop shop. Interesting. So the .com bubble was in the 90s. Interesting. Yeah, it says the late 1990s. So I'm not sure about what .com bubble, or excuse me, what mom and pop shop he's talking about. And it says rapid NASDAQ growth. Yeah. 95. Those are the 90s. So no, you're actually not telling the truth. Yeah, that's unfortunate, buddy. You got to knock it off with that. You don't get rich by opening a mom and pop shop. That has not been the case pretty much since I was born. Like that, that's just not true. Sorry, buddy.
If I give you $1 million now and said make more money, you put it in the stock market, or you buy Bitcoin. So you're a lot.
Word. I mean, stock market is just keeping up with inflation, and Bitcoin is completely unpredictable as it has no underlying asset. It's volatile. So I don't think that was quite the answer. It was a simple answer that's easy for everyone to understand, but I don't think that was quite the answer. In fact, if I had $1 million in cash that I wanted to allocate, I'd probably try to allocate it to private startup companies where I'm familiar with the founders and they have a promising product and there's other people that are co-investing who are reputable. I probably wouldn't put it in public companies. I'd put it in private companies because that's what people can do when they can be early. They can be angel investors. They can be early, which is far more profitable. And then when the company goes public onto the stock market, then you make the killing. So what he's saying doesn't actually add up. It's easy to understand, but it's just frankly not true. It's false and silly and misleading.
The times just investing.
And I just have to believe that he knows better than that. I just really have to believe he knows better than that. I don't know why he said that. I just frankly be curious. I would have probably interrupted him at that point, not to be rude, but to ask, like, well, why do you say that? Stock market is just keeping up with inflation for the most part. If you get an index fund, you're not about to become rich. You'll be stable. And Bitcoin, if you just buy Bitcoin like right now, like I don't know, are you going to see a big upside?
In the monopolies, it's getting easier and easier to make money from money, and harder to.
Is that new? Is making money from money new? Because last I checked, the paper assets have been a thing for quite some time, like at least 100 years, right? Because we remember the stock market crashed and like during the Great Depression, which was like 100 years ago, and that lets us know people were making money on money. So why are you acting like that's new? It's very weird. Who's believing this stuff?
Make money from nothing. And this is the problem with the world we're in because young people have no money. So
making money from nothing is new? No, you don't remember Tulip Mania? You guys don't know about Tulip Mania? People have been making money from money for a long, or money from nothing, or money from money, or money from speculation, or money from marketing, or money from mass psychology for a long time. Well, none of the things he's saying right now are making sense. It's actually bothering me.
To make their first $1 million is nearly impossible, but to turn $1 million into 10 million is easy. Buy and chill. That's it. So it's getting worse and worse. And this ties into what I said.
To make $1 million into 10 million, that would be like to make 1,000% on your money is easy. I don't know. Make 1,000%, make 10%, 10. Excuse me, make a. I don't know. I don't know. That's interesting. Multiply your money by 10, because if you make $1 million into 10 million, that would be multiply your money by 10. I don't think that's easy. I don't think multiplying money by 10 is easy. Getting from 1 million to 2 million, sure, I get it, but 1 million to 10, that's not real. Anyway, shout out to Andre, comes in via Venmo. He writes, Andrew speaks about breaking out of the matrix, yet he is the matrix. He says corn is evil, but he made a living from it. Imagine if your government released a man-made virus, then told you to wear a mask and get a vaccine so you wouldn't catch it. That's who Andrew Tate is. Very, very apt analogy. And you know what? I can't lie to you guys. I can't listen to the BS anymore. He's talking too much nonsense. I got to go. I'm done. Until next time. Utter nonsense this guy's talking right now.